Okay. Well, then, good morning. Today is Wednesday, November 26, 2025, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. The teleconference number is 1-971-254-3149, conference ID 866-914-607#. Audio capabilities are listen only and are offered on the best effort for the public. Our meeting is also live streamed, and you can join us online by going to our website. Other viewing options are available at tctvonline.com. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. Public comment. Those intending to provide public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to the public comments email on our website. Public comments received by 12 p.m. on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online before the meeting, and become part of the public record. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email public comments by 12 p.m. on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners Office, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. Do we have anyone signed up in the room? I do see that I have one online. Is that everything, Demi?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, well, I would like to welcome those who are in the room with us and invite you to please sign the guest list if you have not yet done that. And then we will begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Bell, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Okay, we will start with our public comment, and I know that online we have April Bailey. So, Ms. Bailey, please. To unmute yourself is *6 on the telephone, or if you're on a computer, it is there should be a mute button there. Okay, it looks as if she's unmuted, but I'm not hearing anything.
Sorry, still unmuted on my
There
phone.
we go.
Sorry.
Thank you. We can hear you, April.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So funny. Okay, forgive me. Good morning. This is April Bailey from Neskowin, Oregon. I just want to thank the commissioners for providing an opportunity for public comment remotely. I know you understand in our large rural county, it's not always convenient or possible to attend your meeting in person. And I will again request that commissioners consider holding a meeting outside their normal business hours once per quarter and possibly in other locations. I just think it'd be a great opportunity for the citizens to engage. I want to convey my support for the letter to the Secretary of Homeland Security in opposition to the proposed relocation of the Coast Guard helicopter. All of us should understand the importance of having the proper equipment and trained personnel to execute water rescues along our busy coast. However, I want to take this opportunity to encourage our commissioners to continue to behave circumspectly in regards to ICE operations in this county and state. I mention this because the proposed removal of this helicopter happened after the mayor of Newport reportedly and publicly refused the possibility of an ICE detainment center next to the federal property and the Newport airport. I hope the commissioners, when faced with local consequences to neighboring governments refusing to work with the federal government, lawfully enforcing immigration law, first appeal to those neighboring government bodies. I am absolutely positive Tillamook County commissioners do not want to an appearance or in reality subscribe to the theory of nullification that states can nullify constitutional powers of the federal government. And again, I do very much support the tone of this letter, and I very much appreciate Commissioner Scar making it available to the public prior to the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, April. Okay, so there are two non-agenda items today, one of which is the letter that Ms. Daly referred to. And those will both be taken after agenda item number 9. So we will start this morning with a presentation from the Nehalem Bay Watershed Council for their annual report. Zach Mallon, Director of the Nehalem Bay Watershed Council. Is Zach with us online this morning? There he is. Oh, he's already a presenter. We're doing good. Good morning, Zach. Good to see you. We are not hearing you, however. No, and I don't see that you're muted. Nope, still not hearing you. It's probably figuring out which microphone Teams would like. Still not hearing you. Keep going. Nope, not yet. Okay, gonna go out and come back in. Perfect. Sometimes that is what it takes to reset the computer brain to find the microphone.
We might have time for item 6. Oh, maybe
I
not.
figure as soon as I said that, he'd probably
Right.
show up.
No.
We're still not hearing you.
Darn it.
Right? Because you are clearly unmuted on our end. So what I'm going to do, Zach, is we're going to go ahead and take the next item on our agenda and let you work through your microphone issue. But after each item, we'll pause and see if your computer has decided that it's willing to talk to us. So we're going to go ahead and take item 6, and then I'll check back in with you.
Also, Zach, if it's helpful, when this has happened to me, sometimes I've gotten on my phone for audio and then use the computer just for video. So you might want to try that.
Okay, so we will take item 6, which is consideration of modification number 1 to personal services agreement number 6615 with Troop HR Inc. for leave administration services. And we have Mackenzie Weir, Human Resources Technician, with us this morning. Good morning, Mackenzie.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm asking today for a modification to our services agreement with Troop. As you know, we outsource our leave administration services. We have seen an increase, I think, in leave cases throughout. I've confirmed with Troop, other clients are also seeing that as well with, Paid Leave Oregon being further implemented. More employees are taking leave to take care of themselves, which is great. So we are asking to add some funds to carry us through our contract through June of 2026 to help with the additional caseload that Troop is seeing. That's all I have. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, questions or comments for Mackenzie?
I don't have questions, and it is logical that with Paid Leave Oregon, we would be having more people taking leave. So yes, I support this.
No questions.
Same here, and it's just for transparency and clarity, we are increasing from what was 28,000 for the year to 35,000 for the year. So
7,000.
yeah, no, and I think Troop's done a good job for us administering leave, and anybody who's never had to administer leave, it's super, super complicated. There's a lot of legal pieces that go into administering leave, and in order to make sure that employees get absolutely what they deserve to get on their leaves, it's just helpful to have Troop manage that for us.
It is.
Yes, because there's timelines and specific documents. It's a whole bunch of stuff. So, all right, I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of modification number 1 to personal services agreement number 6615 with Troop HR Inc. for leave administration services.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mackenzie.
Thank you.
Okay, I do not see Zach back up there yet. So we will go ahead and move on to item 7 and just keep an eye out for him. Okay, so item 7 is consideration of a correction to the Fourth Amendment to Oregon Health Authority 2025-2027 Intergovernmental Agreement number 185828 for the financing of public health services. We have Marlene Putman, Administrator, Health and Human Services. Good morning, Marlene.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a very simple correction. You recently approved this particular agreement, but there is an error on page 9, which is basically a typographical error, and apparently still has to go before you according to legal. So there is a subparagraph 5 on page 9, changing a lowercase c to an uppercase c and adding an and that is it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I think this is going to take some
Not at all.
deliberation on behalf of the commissioners without a doubt. Comments or questions, commissioners?
I approve.
I approve.
So I believe I would seek a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a correction to the Fourth Amendment to Oregon Health Authority 2025-2027 Intergovernmental Agreement number 185828 for the financing of public health services.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. I will forgo additional discussion and call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Marlene.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Okay, I see that Zach has joined us. We'll give this another try. See if we've added audio.
Yeah, let's see if this works now.
I hear you.
Hooray! All right,
Hooray!
good.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Okay. Perfect. We will circle back to agenda item number 5. So Zach, welcome. Good morning. Thank you for your perseverance. And I'll hand it over to you.
Great, thank you so much. I'm just gonna get my presentation pulled up here. Thanks for bearing with the technical difficulties. You'd think we'd have this figured out by now. Oh, come on.
We would, and then
Share the
inevitably an update somewhere in our computer takes away everything we know and everything.
Oh, I know. It's always remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we should be able to.
Yes, your presentation is visible in the room.
You're seeing the slides? Great.
We are,
Perfect.
yes.
Well, good morning and thanks for having me. I'm obviously Zach Mallon, the Executive Director of the Nehalem Bay Watershed Council. And every year I present on the work of our previous year to the county commissioners for all the counties that the Watershed Council's coverage area extends into. And so this is going to be a review of the work that happened in 2024, but I sprinkled in a little bit of some of what we did in 2025 just for a little bit of spice. Who's the Nehalem Bay Watershed Council? Our board is made up of individuals who are, interested in affected persons within the watershed per House Bill 3441's, guidelines for watershed councils. And in our case, we have members of the private and state forestry communities. We have agricultural landowners, folks who work for other nonprofits, and just some sports fishermen and hunters as well. So we have a pretty reasonable group of people on our board. Quick glance at Watershed Council history for people who might not be super familiar. Guidelines were established back in 1995, voluntary local groups representing the local community, independent nonprofits that get recognition from the counties. We're non-regulatory, so we never get involved in any sort of enforcement action. And we serve as an advisory body and conduct habitat restoration. I believe there are 90 watershed councils in Oregon currently, and that number 59 might be inaccurate now. I think it's 60 or 61 are receiving support through OWEB, and that support for our baseline costs is funded through the Oregon Lottery. The Nehalem Bay Watershed Council's mission is to protect, preserve, and enhance the Nehalem watershed through leadership, cooperation, and education. How do we do that? We work with stakeholders throughout the watershed to restore and enhance habitat for fish and wildlife through research, design and engineering, and then active habitat restoration. We also have, at this point, limited outreach and education activities where we occasionally will have speakers come out and speak to the community. And we are currently revving up for our 2026 biennial Nehalem Estuary cleanup, and we'll talk more about that later. Where we work is in the Nehalem watershed, specifically downstream of the Humbug Creek confluence. If you were to use Highway 26 as a rough estimate of where we work, downstream of, you'd be mostly correct, but the Humbug Creek confluence is a little bit south of Highway 26 as well. So you'd be pretty close. In 2024, we spent about $360. So we brought in about $360 in income. Primarily, that was through state funding from several different sources. We have funding through OWEB. We also get grants from other groups like ODFW. Recently, for 2025, we were awarded a grant from the Private Forest Accords. Multiple different directions there. We also brought in a little bit of federal income in the form of grants from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation and through NOAA. And then a mixture of other funding sources coming in, being donations and other groups funding us and that sort of thing. Our expenses in 2024 were about $360,000, so pretty close to our income, which is as it should be. And this breakdown here shows that we had about 71% of that went directly into habitat restoration, with 29% being administrative. And the way that number is calculated and how we've been doing it since 2019 is a little fuzzy. And in fact, if you account for all the time spent by me doing activities like finding new projects, building landowner relationships, writing those grants, and navigating getting that funding as activities that directly support restoration, suddenly that number becomes more like 94% of our expenses are going towards restoration activities, with just 6% being spent on purely administrative stuff, filing with the state, taxes, and that sort of thing. Filing our taxes specifically. In 2024, we had a lot of work going on. We always seem to. We're conducting some research on the trajectory that some of our riparian areas are in regards to a lot of single-age alder stands in riparian zones. We have a bunch of design projects ranging from summer cool water refugia for juvenile salmonids to tide gate removals, tidal wetland restorations, fish passage projects. The list goes on. We're also engaged in an outreach program that I'll talk more about later. And we continue to work on several riparian projects like the Nehalem River Ranch, Coal Creek riparian planting, and our Malone revegetation project, which is a property on the main stem as well. And we did the Little North Fork large wood enhancement in 2024, which was a wood placement. We're involved in several collaborations in leadership roles in all three of them. And just to highlight quickly, with the Network of Oregon Watershed Councils, the Nehalem Bay Watershed Council helped to plan and host the Watershed Council Conference in 2025. So that was pretty cool, but we were already working on that in 24. I'm going to highlight a few of our projects because we have limited time here today. And so we're going to be talking today about our Coal Creek Habitat Enhancement Phase 2 project. So this is downstream of that previous Coal Creek riparian work that we were doing. This is a field, part of which is still in agriculture, part of which is no longer used for anything. And in it, we're going to be doing bank layback to reduce erosion rates and plant riparian plants and control invasive species. There's a tidal wetland restoration portion in the lower field that's not used anymore. And we're going to be removing a tide gate that is defunct, not operating properly, and isn't critical for the upslope field that is still used. These are going to provide habitat for juvenile salmonids during winter high flows, during summer rearing periods for juvenile salmonids, restore floodplain interaction, nutrient cycling, provide better shade, all that good stuff. We're working on this project with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. It's funded by OWEB and the Wild Salmon Center, and we're also getting support from Tillamook Estuaries Partnership and obviously the private landowners who own the property and are excited for this work. We're hoping to go to construction in 26 or 2027, depending on the funding situation. Active restoration work happening in 2024. I mentioned those several plantings. You can see all three of them on this map here. But also we completed the Little North Fork large wood enhancement. And so this is a large wood enhancement that happened on the Little North Fork Nehalem River, where we decommissioned a failing bridge. We removed an access road that was no longer required for forestry operations. And then we placed 18 total structures in, it was actually almost a mile in the end. So that half mile is a relic from a previous presentation, apparently. Large wood placements do a lot of great work. They improve in-stream habitat diversity, creating pools, riffles, gravel beds, that sort of thing. Improve floodplain engagement by pushing water out onto the floodplain, which helps slow water down, providing both winter refugia from high flows for juvenile fish, as well as reducing flooding downstream. This is a project that we did with Weyerhaeuser and with funding support from the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board and Tillamook Estuaries Partnership. And ODFW did a lot of the on-site directing of where exactly to place each piece of wood. I just wanted to share this picture of that failed bridge because it was pretty cool. It was a couple of cedar logs that were laid across the river back probably in the 40s. And so it was falling down, and we were able to repurpose those logs directly into the creek as part of our structure. Here's a little bit of spice from 2025. We finished it, and so I wanted to brag about it a little bit. We completed the God's Valley Creek in-stream enhancement, which was 2¼ miles of wood placements. All the same benefits we were talking about with the Little North Fork project, but this one was with Justina Land and Timber Company, and then funded by OWEB Wild Salmon Center, with monitoring support from Tillamook Estuaries Partnership, and again, on-site direction of where each piece of wood was going from the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. We're at almost 11 minutes, so I'm going to try and be brief here. When it comes to collaborations, the Nehalem Basin Partnership is still active and going. It's focused on implementing the Nehalem Strategic Action Plan for Coho, and it identifies projects throughout the basin that are going to be the highest impact projects to pursue for coho habitat restoration and to help restore stocks. We are currently working on an outreach grant that is held by the Nehalem Bay Watershed Council, but is benefiting the entire area. And that outreach is to create a 10-year work plan. So we have all the projects lined out for the Watershed Council and for the partnership for a decade to come. We also have some funding and review from NIFWIF, the National Fish and Wildlife Fund, for a coastal resilience grant. I believe actually the county commissioners provided a letter of support for that, if I remember correctly. And we're in the final round of review. We're just waiting to hear back on that one right now. And all of this will also be going towards a focused investment partnership grant from OWEB this coming summer. All in all, if all of that funding comes through, we're talking about $16 million of investment in the watershed focused on projects that are beneficial both for salmon and for mitigating flood impacts. So pretty cool stuff. I mentioned before the estuary cleanup is coming up. It'll be on March 8th. In 2024, we pulled out 30 yards of waste, including some pretty wild stuff like a hot tub. It's always something interesting when we do that. Our list of funders and partners is incredibly long, and I'll just let everybody look at this for a moment. And pick out your favorite organization that we worked with in 2024. And with that, I think I came in mostly under time. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Zach. Appreciate that. Questions and comments, commissioners?
I don't have any questions, Zach, but I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for your work and for this excellent report. I'm always so pleased to hear these reports and to hear about the great work that the watershed councils are doing. I'm in your neighborhood, so I recognize some of the pictures that you you shared with us, and I think I've seen parts of the north little North Fork restoration project, and certainly Coal Creek, and it's it's so impressive, the combined effort of all of those funding partners and all of the agencies that come together to do this work that's really about clean water and habitat restoration, and I just think that it's a wonderful thing, and I'm very grateful for your work, so thank you.
I think
Thank
you
you.
said it all. I appreciate the presentation. I love hearing these projects that are happening behind the scenes. A lot of people don't know they're happening. So thank you for shedding some light on them. And I concur with everything.
Thank-
Yeah, agreed. I think it's fantastic. I think that, we talk often about how in Tillamook County, we have so much good work going on. And what you've presented today is just a part of that. So I appreciate that. My personal eye into it is typically at Nehalem River Ranch, because every year for the Estuaries Partnership, they donate a dinner, and we always bid high and try to get into that dinner. But it gives me an opportunity on an annual basis to walk the property with Zach at the Nehalem River Ranch and see how that restoration continues to grow and continues to evolve. So it's really fantastic. And I wish we always have to touch on this, FEMA, to understand the amount of work that we are doing in our watersheds currently that really makes the biological opinion such a past dated look at Tillamook County's work in relation to salmon habitat. Salmon habitat grows, changes, and improves in our communities every single year, and that is because of the work of watershed councils, the Estuary Partnership, Salmon Superhighway, all of the different folks, and the timber companies that are part of what we are working on, the private landowners. Everyone in Tillamook County is in agreement that salmon are part of the lifeblood of what we do here, and having appropriate habitat for them is something we will put time and money into every single day. So we couldn't do it without the Watershed Council. So we really appreciate you. You guys are the boots on the ground that help the county be a good partner. So I really appreciate that, and appreciate the work that you're doing and your time today to kind of keep us caught up. So commissioners, any other questions or comments? Zach,
Happy
any other?
Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Happy
burning
Thanksgiving.
things. Yeah, enjoy your holiday.
I will. You too. Thank you so much for having me. And as always, feel free to reach out if you have questions, thoughts about anything that we're up to up here. I'm always happy to talk to folks.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. We will jump back to our agenda. And we will go to item number 8, which is consideration of a contract for goods with FMI Equipment for the purchase of an ILF Aspen mower. Chris Laity, Public Works Director. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning,
Ooh.
Commissioners.
That looks like a fun piece of equipment.
Right. So, Public Works, the road department mow the sides of the road. Typically, and that keeps the vegetation from encroaching towards the road. Not only that, but we also have overhanging trees that we need to make sure we have 14 foot of clearance so that the logging trucks and the milk trucks and also the campers with their hoods with the vents that are on top of the roofs don't scrape off. So we've got a variety of things. Historically, we and pretty much everybody else, road department, including ODOT, have been running John Deere mowers for the last 30, 40 years, and with a mower arm that's attachment to it. So mowing, I'm talking about farm tractors. We thought that our current mowers are 2002, 2005, and 2018. They're costing much more than they're worth anymore, so we had a need for something a little better, and brought us further into this century. Not only us, but other road departments have been out there looking for something better solution. We have demoed out several vehicles, including an excavator with a mower attachment to it. This is the one that we thought was our best fit. We did go out for call for bid. We received one additional quote for a little over 250,000. So this piece of machinery has the reach out to the side as well as the reach above, something that our John Deere mowers can't do. So we can get some vertical height on using this piece of machinery. That minimizes the amount of bucket truck work that we use. Bucket truck, that'd be what you see with PUD going out there and working on their power lines. So that minimizes some of the that type of handwork where we can do it with this type of machine. We also run into speed. John Deere mowers typically go down the side of the road running approximately 5 miles per hour in order to do the mowing. We can double that speed with this type of product and still have comfort and safety. The mower head itself is the piece of equipment that actually is doing the mowing, which is attached to that arm, does a far better job than what we currently have. We actually purchased another head that goes with this machine, and we have that mounted to, it will arrive soon, it'll get mounted to one of our John Deere mowers. So I request approval of this contract for $209,782.80.
All right, thank you. Questions or comments, commissioners?
No, I think, well, yes.
No. Wouldn't be a good mower.
Boy, that's a lot of money, but I'm not surprised, to be honest with you, with cars costing $50,000. So I appreciate it. We're gonna have a better piece of equipment. 2002 is pretty old for a mower, although we've done much better than that in the age of our equipment. So no, I really have no questions. I'm glad you're looking out to upgrade some of this equipment. We need it for the sight lines. I know in Neatorth we have a lot of overgrowth that these guys do a great job of keeping on the Bay Road and stuff. So you have clear sight lines around the corner. So nope, that's it.
I also support this. I agree it's a lot of money, but the heavy equipment is really expensive, and your department, Chris, takes good care of it, maintaining it, babying it along, over 20 years. In some cases, I know you've had equipment that's 30, even 40 years old, and it's, they're good and more than 40. And I think we, as a board, have made a commitment to invest in equipment and systems that make us more efficient, and this seems like it clearly fits that bill.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. And I think I heard that in what you were saying, that it can move twice as fast.
Yeah.
Right. So that's going to mean more
Correct.
miles mowed per staff hour paid, so I
You're
mean,
not
it's
putting a guy or a person into a bucket truck and putting him up there.
correct. So I think that it right tool, right job, right time. So agreed. It seems like a big ticket because it is a big ticket item, but it's a necessary big ticket item. So, and just a reminder to anyone watching who does not know, your property taxes do not pay for roads in Tillamook County. Roads in Tillamook County are paid for by a combination of what we call state highway funds, which are vehicle registrations and gas tax that go first to the state and then come back to us, and the transient lodging tax that was passed in 2013. Our general fund portion of that goes directly to roads. So this is not your property taxes at work. In fact, it is many of our visitors' property, or our visitors' taxes at work, which we appreciate. So as that all gets combined into Chris's budget. So yeah, I think we are ready for a motion.
Before I offer the motion, I'll just additionally say that every year, commissioners, or at least I, receive complaints about spraying, about, the spraying to keep down weeds on the roadside. So while you're making your presentation, Chris, I was thinking, this is, for a lot of folks, this will be preferable to spraying. And so it's, I know it's one of two tools in your bucket, but I appreciate this tool.
If I may make an aside, permission to make an aside comment.
Is it connected or should we take it after the vote?
It is directly connected.
Please, yes.
So we talked about the funding of this piece of machinery. So this is actually one of our lower cost pieces of machinery. We do have equipment dating back to 1972, 74, 77. So we do have some larger ticket items coming that are going to be significantly higher. Our gas taxes pay for everything. While all the visitors come out here, we only receive money based on the number of registered vehicles in the county. And with over 60% of our property owned by the state and the federal government, we are not receiving money from them. We lost another $400,000 from about approximately $450,000 from lack of timber revenue. And the future timber cutting in the National Forest and BLM property, all that money is going to the federal government. So we're going to begin next fiscal year $400,000 shorter than we began this fiscal year. Thank you for the aside.
Thank you, Chris. And I will share that there is a lot of work being done at the federal level to try to get that money that has historically come to counties as part of the tax structure that was built between the federal government, the state government, and local county government. That structure was built starting back in the 1800s. And so to have that currently swiped by the federal government and put into the treasury is very disconcerting. There is, again, a lot of work being done, a lot of lobbying being done to try to return the county's rightful portion. And so we will hope that happens by next year for our roads. But it is definitely one of the challenges we're facing today. So thank you for the aside, Chris, and forgive my additional aside, but it's definitely something we want people to understand. So I'm ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a contract for goods with FMI Equipment for the purchase of an ILF Aspen mower.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Okay, item 9, consideration of a professional service agreement with Great West Engineering for the Pacific City Transfer Station Improvements Phase 2 project. And we have Justin Weiss, Solid Waste Program Manager, with us in the room today.
Yes,
good to see
good
you.
morning, Commissioners. Rachel, Bill. Thought we're getting into the holiday season, so thought I'd come by in person and say hello. So
Very nice. It's not that we don't like looking out the sunroof of your car, but it's nice to see you. in
yeah, I've
person.
got a lot of car meetings lately, and
I know you've got to be
switching
on
up
the
the
move.
scenes. So here we are in the flesh. Yeah. So yeah, today we have the second portion of our design agreement with Great West Engineering. This has been, chugging along for a couple years. This will give us a building on site, so we'll keep people dry so they can do their recycling. We're also going to be expanding what we're collecting under the new recycling law, Modernization Act, which I'd love to come by in January. Made some good progress with SWAC and DEQ, and we're going to do a little push at the end of this year, beginning of January, where we will be taking more at all 3 transfer stations, hopefully expanding curbside, and we can get into that more at a different time. But this upgrade will support that effort for the new recycling law, also some additional Z-Wall capacity, so more spaces for scrap metal, garbage. We'll have more garbage capacity. Unfortunately, we are seeing more garbage coming in down there with some more construction, which is good for the local economy. But when you build, there's more garbage coming in on our end. So this will support us for the next, 10, 20, 30 years. As we've discussed, funding is always paramount. And with this project, we have grant funding through the federal government as well as a state loan secured. So we're going to expend the grant funds first, use those. They're non-match, which is fantastic. We're very grateful for those. And then we'll move into the loan to finish up the project. So we're hoping to have it all wrapped up by November of next year in terms of construction. But this Design 2 agreement will get us through the next 3-4 months to finish up design on the project, and then we're hoping to break ground in the spring for construction. So happy to answer any questions if you do have any on this topic, or if you have any other questions.
We'll start with this topic. We'll probably touch the landfill before you leave, because we always have to do that, right? So, Commissioner Fournier, question.
I have no questions on this. I'm glad to see the work continuing, and I appreciate all the hard work you're doing on this.
Excellent.
As am I. It's encouraging to see progress, and I appreciate your leadership.
Yeah, this has been a
No, the
long.
landfill.
No, it's been a long-term project. It'll be great to see it come
Yeah.
to fruition. So we'll do a motion on this and then we'll touch briefly on the landfill,
Sure.
just because there are updates, so.
There are, yeah.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a professional services agreement with Great West Engineering for the Pacific City Transfer Station Improvements Phase 2 project.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, thank you. So I'll let you, do you want to give us an update on the Coffin Butte
Well, it sounds
landfill?
like commissioners, you may have a little bit more knowledge than I do, but Monday, late Monday, close to 5, Morgan in the office brought me a letter from Benton Strong Coalition, I believe, announcing that the Board of Commissioners had approved the expansion of the landfill. I didn't get into the details on how big or what type of capacity in terms of, 10, 20 years longer we'll be able to use it, but that will give us some more time to figure out long-term solutions. Hopefully less garbage going out, but where are we taking it? What's the cost associated with it? And we had a good meeting at one of our last SWAC meetings about different ideas, putting it on trains, and it can get quite complicated and obviously expensive, but this will give us some more time to figure it out. So if any of you do have any more details, we'll obviously be digging in more once I get back into the office and kind of figuring out where all the chips fell and what it means for us going forward, but a good first step for some more breathing room for us in the future. So
For
if you do
sure.
have anything to share, I'd love to hear it as well.
Sure, you have some. I just want to say we apologize for missing the SWAC meeting last week. We had AOC.
Yeah, I know Chris was there as well with Public Works, and hope it was a productive week
It
for
was
you.
a very productive
Yeah.
week. I think you probably have updates.
So I'll just share, I did watch the land use hearing in which the Benton County Commissioners did approve the expansion. And then at conference had the opportunity to speak with some of the commissioners who are closer to it, Benton County and Lynn County and others that have a tighter eye on what is actually happening in that whole region. And they're saying somewhere between 5 and 10 years is likely the lifetime of this capacity. So depends on a variety of factors, including the fact that Marion County and closing down their burner has increased their use of Coffin Butte. So because this is a regional landfill and there are many partners, there are many counties that use it, at some point Republic will have, the owner will have the opportunity to decide, whose garbage they're going to take as capacity dwindles, et cetera. Certainly some concern expressed by other smaller counties that use it that we might be the first to go, just because our capacity is less, therefore what we're paying into it is probably less. So there is a group forming that will be looking at options, and I know that Benton County is within that group, as well as, I believe, I talked to somebody in Yamhill that was part of that. Anyway, I'll find out for sure and make sure, or you may get contacted by them. But to start talking about it now because of that 5 to 10 year horizon, and because of the concern that we're at some level at the sort of the mercy of Republic as the owner of that particular landfill as to whose trash they take for how long, and not wanting to be caught off guard or unprepared should a shorter timeline than 5 or 10 years be brought forward for us. So lots to look at. I know that the recycling is a big part of that. How do we reduce, as all counties, what's going into that landfill, which can extend its life if that is a successful project. So, yeah, just.
Oh, thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some interesting insights and more work to be done. And that was something I put in my letter to support the expansion. This is a good short-term step, but we've got to think big picture, because we can just keep kicking the can down the road, but it's not going to have a final solution. So
Correct.
good to hear, and interesting that they might pick and choose who could go into the landfill. I feel like that could be a good political firestorm.
I think it could too. And I don't know if I assume we don't have the contracts. I assume our haulers have contracts with Republic, but I wasn't clear on that either to know.
Yeah. It's got to be Don G. Averill Recycling who's got the contract to go through the tipping or across the scale there.
So it might be interesting to talk with them about what's in the contract in terms of the ability of Republic to stop taking our trash, just so that we have that insight into, is that even really possible, or is that just a fear that some counties may have? And so I always feel like getting to the bottom of the facts is always useful, and it would be useful for us to know if there is is it a 60-day, a 90-day, a year long? How much time do they have to give us or give our haulers as a notice,
Right.
so that we can be prepared in that frame of mind? So, Yeah.
Good thoughts. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm actually
yeah.
going over to the transfer station after this, so I will check in with
Perfect.
Pedro Recycling.
Yeah. Well, I think we all took a deep breath and said 5 to 10 years, but we don't want to forget about it either. So appreciate your continued
Yeah,
work.
no, thank you for sharing and staying on top of that as well. Appreciate your support and moving that issue forward. So
My fellow commissioners are from those areas keep just calling me up. You know, right? You're on board, right? So I appreciate my fellow commissioners in the other counties keeping it top of mind for all of us.
good collaborative effort. So
Yes,
thank
for
you.
sure. Okay, thank you, and appreciate your always
Thank you,
willingness to
everyone.
just entertain our questions
Yes,
on a whim.
yes. Have a great Thanksgiving holiday.
You do the same. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move into our 2 unscheduled items. So the unscheduled item number 1 is consideration of a letter to the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, in opposition of the proposed relocation of the Coast Guard MH-65 Dolphin helicopter from Newport, Oregon. And I do have my name on this. Go ahead and pull it out. I know, commissioners, that this is unscheduled because it was written yesterday. And I apologize for the delay, but this, of course, all occurred while we were at conference, and so playing a little bit of catch up. I would really like to thank Raymond Rowe of the Jurymen's Association. I will acknowledge that much of this language was provided by them, which I absolutely appreciate, and mirrors the letter that they themselves have sent as well. So we did talk about this briefly on the radio yesterday. For anyone who's hearing this for the first time, Tillamook County is served on the southern section of Tillamook County is served by a Coast Guard helicopter that has traditionally been located in Newport. This is a really important piece of equipment for the safety of our fishermen and crabbers that go out of South Tillamook County. In 2014, there was an effort by the Coast Guard to relocate this helicopter. It was not successful. The public, particularly the Newport fishermen's wives, came together, formed a nonprofit, and sued the Coast Guard to stop the relocation of the helicopter in 2014. The other thing that came out of that original lawsuit was that a piece of legislation was passed at the federal government that said the Coast Guard cannot relocate an asset such as this without a public process. It requires them, I believe, to give 90 days notice and to hold public meetings before they would make such a move. What occurred in this case was neither of those steps were followed. So as soon as the helicopter was moved, a lawsuit was initiated that said you failed to do your process as the federal government, which a judge has ruled that the helicopter must be returned immediately because of the failure to follow the federal process. So my understanding is that is where we sit today. So our letter will go in support of that decision that has been to return the helicopter, but also to just really urge Homeland Security, even if they follow that due process, to hear all of us on the Oregon coast and to understand the safety concerns should they decide still to move the helicopter after they go through their process. So this is not over, to the best of my understanding. We are just on a pause where they likely will follow through with the things that are required in the federal bill. So I don't know if we want to have some additional conversation. That I would like to read the letter into the record since it was not presented until yesterday.
I'd like to add to that part of that
Please.
federal process is a safety analysis, which is a big portion of this process that was ignored. So.
Correct. And I know yesterday on the radio you gave some good examples of your own experience of working with this Coast Guard helicopter in rescues.
Yeah,
and
I
things
appreciate
here.
the language of the letter. I've read it, and I appreciate that you reached out to Ray to get that. But yeah, and the fire chief. Yeah, minutes matter when you're drowning. Cold water drownings, people can be resuscitated if you get too quick enough sometimes, and I've been a part of that. And so this is one of those things where those minutes and those miles of that helicopter being away really is a matter of life and death, like you say in the letter. So very supportive of this.
Thank you.
As am I. And I do remember when the Coast Guard in 2014, because I worked at the Headlight Herald then, when the Coast Guard abruptly removed the helicopter for financial reasons, for budget reasons. And the group of fishermen's wives, it's a very powerful coalition. And indeed, they got it back. And so it was abrupt and surprising when it just happened again in violation of the federal laws that were put into place in 2014. So that's mystifying, and I certainly agree that it's a grave safety concern for fishermen for people who use that very active seaport. And so I absolutely want the helicopter returned for the safety of everybody who is on the water in that stretch of the coast.
Thank you for that. Would you like to read it as the motion?
If you want me to.
Sure. Why don't you
Okay.
do that?
To the Honorable Kristi Noem, Secretary of Homeland Security. Dear Secretary Noem, on behalf of Tillamook County, Oregon, we write to respectfully express our strong opposition to the proposed relocation of the Coast Guard MH-65 Dolphin helicopter from Newport, Oregon. For decades, the Coast Guard has provided critical life-saving support to Tillamook County, coastal visitors, and residents of South Tillamook County. Newport's location is central to that service area, with Cape Kiwanda serving as the dividing line between northern and southern coverage. If a southern helicopter is moved, response time for rescues south of Cape Kiwanda will increase dangerously. Air support from the north cannot cover this area. Chief James Ader of the Nestucca Rural Fire and Rescue has confirmed that Newport's air rescue has already been deployed at least 12 times this year alone. Losing this resource would be devastating in moments of urgent need. The waters off Pacific City contain some of the finest crab grounds on the Oregon coast, drawing vessels from both north and south during winter months when ocean conditions are often treacherous. In addition, visitors to our coast have faced climbing accidents and incidents of being swept out to sea, situations where the MH-65 Dolphin has proven essential in saving lives. Tillamook County supports the United States Coast Guard, Oregon Parks and Recreation, and the Nestucca Fire and Rescue, who provide education and outreach promoting safety in the coastal marine environment. Relocating this vital asset would undermine that progress and jeopardize the lives of those who depend on timely rescue operations. We respectfully urge you to preserve the Newport-based MH-65 Dolphin helicopter. Keeping this life-saving resource within safe proximity to our port is not merely a matter of convenience, it's a matter of life and death for our fishing community and coastal visitors. Thank you for your consideration and your continued support of the Coast Guard's life-saving mission. Sincerely, Board of Commissioners for Tillamook County, Oregon. That's a motion.
And I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we will move on to our second unscheduled item, which is consideration of modification number 2 to Personal Services Agreement number 6654 with Troop HR Inc. for a compensation and pay equity study. Rachel Haggerty, Chief Administrative Officer.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Rachel.
This is the last troop amendment for the compensation and pay equity study, and we even put that at the end of the scope of work. So the work is done for the study. As you know, there's some pay practices and training of HR staff and so on that are continuing, and they need to continue through January 31. So there is a modification in time to this amendment or to this contract, and the additional cost to complete the project, which includes work that has already been completed to date outside of contract and what's anticipated to be completed going forward through January 31st, is another $29,315 to be paid out of ARPA. There's some detail in here about the why. As you know, we have been building the plane as we've been flying it. We have increased the amount of jobs from 129 as originally proposed in the scope of work to 235, and we have been going through 2 bargaining sessions, one with AFSCME, one with the sergeants, and a lot of back and forth with job description changes, questions about how troop arrived at the pay, and so on and so forth. And so there's even been new jobs that have come up in the middle of bargaining. There's just been a lot of back and forth that was never intended, and so I think we've been providing you updates along the way. So I can go into more detail on the why. It is all in the scope of work. That brings the total contract up to $157,645. It's ready for consideration.
Thank you, Rachel. Questions or comments, Commissioners?
I appreciate your work, Rachel, and I agree that this has been a huge project and it's expensive, and these things are just expensive. And and it's an investment. So we've talked about this previously, that the idea is to get our current baseline, and then not have to continue to reinvest this amount to keep up, because it was so far many years behind. So I'm encouraged that we're almost there.
And I just want to clarify that, because you said something in there, we went from 100 to 220. We didn't hire 120 more people. We just redefined the jobs. Can you just repeat that for me so I understand?
Yes, we didn't add all of those people.
Right.
We did the cleanup work to get people into the right jobs, instead of having some jobs covered a bunch of positions and they needed to be more specific.
I think that's great work. It's needed to be done. I appreciate it. And I just want to also remind folks that this money is allocated from ARPA. So it's not coming out of the general fund.
Correct. No, and this was a complete revisit of our complete job and compensation structure. I mean, I think that's the trick to this, is that we had not, to Commissioner Bell's point, in memory for most people, 10 years, beyond 10 years, not taken a look at our entire system. And so when you take and make one-offs with individual jobs, you start to just sort of get your whole classification system a little bit off kilter. And then in the midst of that, Oregon in 2018, I believe it was, added a new law related to pay equity, in which they said you must look across your organization and ensure that people doing similar jobs receive similar pay. And so that was the other piece. So you had a classification system that was just a little bit off kilter and had not been fully just looked at from an equity perspective. And all that work had to be done to get a solid, complete reset of our job classifications and compensation system. So, I mean, this was huge. It was a complete reset. And to your point, we now have this complete reset, and we will be keeping up with it on a more consistent basis, a little at a time. So we're just wiggling it. Whereas this time it was deep. I mean, to really go into every job description that the county had to ensure that they were correct, to provide that back and forth with employees who do that job, so they could help us make sure it was correct. That was a lot of time and energy to do that. And I really do appreciate that the ARPA money was there for this work, because that's, I'm certain, one of the reasons this work probably has not been done at this level is that it is expensive, and a general fund likely would not have supported such a huge project, at least not without other challenges. So thank you to the federal government for ARPA. We appreciate it, appreciate what it's allowed us to do in terms of setting things to rights with how we compensate our employees. Our philosophy is that we want to compensate our employees fairly, and this work was the underpinning of that, to say, are you doing the job that we thought you were doing, and are we paying you what you could get paid for this elsewhere? So key work that has been done, and I just really want to take the time to appreciate Rachel for leading this work. We obviously have had a couple of HR directors move through during the time that we were doing this body of work, and Rachel picked it up and just carried us all the way through, and it has been a lot of work. A ton of work back and forth with Troop, back and forth with our employee base and our leaders, and making sure it's right. So thank you for your time, your attention to detail, your patient approach to what was a very long, very complicated process. I don't think without your leadership, we would be sitting where we are today. So thank you for all that you've done.
Hear, hear.
Here, here.
Okay, with that, I think I am ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of modification number 2 to Personal Services Agreement 6654 with Troop HR Inc. for a compensation and pay equity study.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item 10, consideration of a revised, non-represented, exempt, and executive service pay table for fiscal year 2025-2026. Rachel Haggerty.
We have two revised pay tables and the executive service. We have two revised pay tables for your consideration, and the executive service pay table revision is tied to item 11, so I'll talk about that one as well.
Perfect.
So first, I will talk about the non-rep exempt pay table. There's two changes here. The first one I'll talk about is the HR manager position is added to this pay table. We talked about this during the November 5th board meeting. I presented a personnel requisition for the HR manager, explained why we were doing this. We're foregoing the HR director at this time and promoting Mackenzie Weir, who is currently the HR technician in the HR department through, we're promoting her to HR manager through a progressive training plan. So the revision adds the human resources manager at range 13. And the savings, or the cost reduction, I should say, in foregoing the HR director is about, depending on the benefits, it's about $1,000 to $1,500 a month in salary. And then the second change is adding a parks maintenance foreman position to, which is new to the county, to range 4. And Brandy Pearson is here with the Parks Department to talk about the need for that position.
Good morning, Brandy.
Thanks for being here, Brandy. Dan is on his way to Montana.
He's on his way to Montana to spend some time with his kids and his grandbabies.
Oh, great.
Yeah. How are you guys today?
Good, how are you?
I'm here today to talk about the benefits of park maintenance foremen. Over the last 18 months, careful consideration has been given in regard to the division's staff structure of overall effectiveness. As such, it is strongly believed that the hierarchy was and is missing a working liaison between field staff and management. The current chain of command for the Tillamook County Division of Park Maintenance and Operations consists of the following: the director, 3 park maintenance and operation technicians 2, 1 park maintenance and operation technician 1, and 2 park laborers. Each year, during the months of May through October, additional personnel are recruited to fill park labor positions to assist with the increased workload. 2 of the park maintenance and operations technicians 2 are authorized as lead workers and have had this status for some time. As you are aware, a lead can provide general direction, but has no supervisory capacity. All previously identified positions report directly to the Parks Director. Under the general direction of the Park Director, the position of Parks Maintenance Foreman would fill what is thought to be the gap in the Parks Maintenance command structure and would be responsible to lead, oversee, and participate in the work of crews responsible for park maintenance activities in Tillamook County Parks. The position would perform a variety of technical tasks related to assigned areas of responsibility, as well as ensure work is completed safely and efficiently. The position of park foreman is generally connected with product and service budget development, monitoring of expenditures, and has the authority to conduct and sign performance reviews. The position was planned for and approved within the fiscal year 25-26 budget. Key objectives achieved through the position of park maintenance foreman: ensures efficient daily operations and maintenance of park facilities, provides leadership and training for park staff, improves team's performance, enhances visitors' experience through well-maintained landscapes and amenities, provides effective communication between park management and the community, implements safety protocols to protect both staff and park visitors, and assist with budgeting and the allocation of resource for park projects and improvements. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. Any questions for Brandy since she is with us this morning?
I'll let you go first.
Welcome. I'm glad you're here. I know it makes you nervous. Thanks for being
I'm getting a
here.
little bit better every time.
You are. Great job. I don't have any questions. I've talked to Dan about this repeatedly, and it makes sense in terms of the administrative tasks that Dan takes on now
Mhm.
because there isn't someone between the maintenance staff and the director. Dan
would
has
agree.
a lot of administrative tasks that this role will fill well. And so it does make sense, and we have hopes and intentions for parks to grow and expand, and so it's anticipatory of that also. So I think it makes sense.
I would agree, and we currently have some projects in the works, where it's almost amazing we haven't had this yet, to be quite honest. So,
I would agree.
yeah, I think it's great that we're doing this, and, it's gonna help relieve some of that workload for Dan, and also add a lot of efficiency to it, so I support it.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that we were listing off all the different people that reported to Dan, and that was just in this one department. And then there's the rest of the people
Yep.
that report to Dan, right? So I think there is this, and hopefully some of this came out in our compensation and classification, was there are places where we have just varying flatnesses of structures across different departments, and some of them are ridiculous. You've got the director, like in this case, and then all of these people that report directly up, which means evaluations for the director and all these different things where you're like, I think it's 6 to 8 people is considered the appropriate amount of direct reports if you look at management structure, philosophy, that kind of thing. And boy, way out of whack on that.
Yeah.
So the ability to be efficient and effective is lost for that director when they have that many people reporting to him. So I think this sounds like we are right sizing and right shaping the structure, which I think sounds great. And then I would just point out, as we always do, that the parks are not funded out of general fund either. The parks are funded through the revenues that they generate. And then in this year, we have also added some transient lodging tax to the parks operations in order to bring back some of the funds they generate for additional uses in the general fund. So, but no general fund dollars support parks. Parks really is a standalone tourist-based department, really. You're serving those who come to our community and are a huge part of our economy. So we appreciate that. You are part of our economics that we must have, and having it function efficiently is fantastic. So, commissioners, any other comments before I entertain a motion? All right, not hearing any. I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a revised non-represented exempt and executive service pay table for fiscal year 2025-2026.
I second that.
We have a motion.
Wrong one?
No, I needed to do the executive service first.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay, I
You're welcome.
pause
Thank
my
you.
motion.
Pause.
Sorry, thank you. I asked for the motion. Thank you,
It's a
Brandy. We
loose
appreciate you being
Kidding.
here. We will let you out of the hot seat.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, just kidding.
Second part of that motion. Okay, so the executive service pay table.
Oh, you're right.
There is one change here, and this is adding the Director of Financial Services to range 10. So some background on this one. During the July 30th board briefing, Mike Gleason was here and presented his assessment of the operations and services in the Treasurer's Office, along with his recommendations. He highlighted the great work that the Treasurer's Office was and is doing, and noted some areas that needed improvement or additional capacity. One of his recommendations, also in part driven by the county strategic plan that was adopted last year, is the need for strategic financial analysis, reporting, forecasting, and planning, and the capacity to do all of that. To implement this recommendation, Mr. Gleason further recommended that the county create a Director of Financial Services position and appoint Deborah Jacob to the role, and she currently serves as the Chief Deputy Treasurer and Assistant Finance Director. The primary duties of the Director of Financial Services, which are described in a new job classification, include process improvements, I'm highly summarizing, process improvements, financial analysis, reporting and forecasting, strategic financial planning, recommending financial solutions, and leading exploration and implementation of the revenue and cost reduction strategies that are in the recently completed Tiberius report. There's been a sense of urgency and a lot of momentum over the last year to strengthen the county's financial stability. We're seeking new solutions, we're getting creative, and ultimately we're working toward the adoption of a financial plan, which I don't think has ever been done to my knowledge. Over the last 4 months, we've been carefully planning this transition with the treasurer and her team to ensure that Treasurer's Office operations are uninterrupted and meet the separation of duty requirements. The team has done an exceptional job of cross-training and developing creative options to accomplish this work, and I really appreciate all the time and thought that they and the team have done, along with the treasurer. I want to thank them for their work. At this time, staff is ready to implement the final steps of this transition. The first being the board's consideration of the pay table, adding the Director of Financial Services to the pay table. And the second being the board's consideration of a personnel requisition, which is the next item on the agenda. Let's see, since the classification is not budgeted. At this time, we do not plan on backfilling Deborah's current position as Chief Deputy Treasurer, Assistant Finance Director. However, this transition is very fluid, and we continue to have discussions with the Treasurer on ways to ensure that her department has the capacity that it needs. Any solutions, if needed, will be determined and approved by the Treasurer because it is her department. But there may need to be a need to develop a support or technician role in the department to provide the capacity that they need. Upon your approval of the pay table revision for the executive service pay table and the personnel requisition, Deborah would be appointed to the Director of Financial Services effective December 1st. And Deborah, did you want to comment?
I just wanted to say a quick thank you for the opportunity and the recommendation on this. I look forward to the collaborations and important work ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, questions or comments on the executive service pay table?
I am fully supportive of this plan for all the reasons Rachel stated. Clearly, this is a long time in coming. It's essential to our overall strategic goal of moving forward financially. Deborah is essential to that plan, and we're grateful to have her and to be moving forward in this way. And so I think it's a change, but it's change for the good, and we're doing the right things for the right reasons.
Thank you.
I would agree. All the exciting changes and things we're doing. I don't want to repeat everything you said, but you covered it beautifully. But I just want to point out is the work that Deborah's going to be doing and is doing on a smaller scale now is beyond the scope usually of what the Treasurer's statutory authority is. And so we were asking much, much more, and we were requiring much, much more as we go forward. I'm excited. If anybody watched our budget meetings, you'll see the work that's coming out of Deborah for this. And for me, I appreciate it. It's something I can understand easily, which means I think the public can understand it. And it gives us the tools we need to make these difficult decisions and exciting decisions on trying to find a way to some financial security and strategic planning for finances and stuff. So I am so supportive and looking forward to this.
Perfect, as am I. I think Rachel did a great job of expressing it, but the Treasurer's Office does a fantastic job and always has of making sure that every penny is accounted for appropriately and that we are following absolutely every rule and law that applies to how we do our finances, and they do a fantastic job. I don't remember how many years we've received that award, but I feel like it's 32 years. I mean, that's fantastic. 32 years continuously, we have received the award for, again, just an excellence in what we do in the Treasurer's Office. And I think to Commissioner Fournier's point, that what we're asking now is above and beyond what we've ever asked of the Treasurer's Office. And there really just isn't capacity in the Treasurer's Office to do the kind of long-term planning, to do the Tiberius follow-up work, which is all the different potential revenue sources. All of these things are something new that we are really working to put in place to make sure that we not only track our finances 100% perfectly, but that we analyze them and plan for the future using that work. So I'm excited to have Deborah in this role. I've had the opportunity to work with her a little bit over the last few years and know that she's the right person for the job. So I'm super excited. I think it's the right move for the county to get ourselves on firm financial footing going forward for the long term and making sure we're using the best possible information and analysis to do it. So I am obviously in support.
I'd just like to add that I recently had a great conversation with a CFO of one of our cities who follows our budgeting process, follows our meetings, because some people love numbers that much, and who said, you guys really need a 5-year plan. You really need a 5-year plan to project this out. And I was able to say, we now have a 5-year plan, and Deborah provided it for us. And you're absolutely right. It gives us the broad outlook that we need to move forward. And so it was affirmation to me that that we're totally on the right track. So I
And
just
I'll
want
just add, if anybody wants to look at the Tiberius work, it's that piece of work that Deborah's gonna have to go through.
It's a lot.
And the reports that she'll have to create. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Okay, I am ready to entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I renew my motion.
Okay.
We'll second it.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. I was going to say a second and a motion, which I have both. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Item 11 was discussed in that same conversation, so I think we are ready for a motion on that as well.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a personnel requisition for a new regular full-time Director of Financial Services in the Board of Commissioners Office.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Congratulations, Deborah. Motion carries. All right. Okay, commissioners, do we have any board concerns today that we have not yet otherwise covered?
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. It's not a concern, but a wish from us to you.
I will concur. I have nothing else to add. Happy Thanksgiving to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to all. So we do have an executive session this morning. So I'm going to read our announcements and then we will go into our executive session and they can let me know the proper statute in just a moment. So the commissioners will hold a board briefing on Wednesday, November 26, 2025 at 2 p.m. to discuss weekly commissioner updates. The meeting will be held in the Board of Commissioners Meeting Room 106 in the Tillamook County Courthouse, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook. The teleconference number is 1-971-254-3149, conference ID 866-914-607#. Thanksgiving Day is an observed holiday for the county and the Oregon State Circuit Court. All county offices in the Tillamook County Courthouse and the Tillamook County Library, administrative offices in the jail and justice facility, Public Works Department, Department of Community Development, Surveyor's Office, and the Health and Human Services Department and clinics will be closed on Thursday, November 27, 2025, and Friday, November 28, 2025. The Oregon State Circuit Court will be closed on Thursday, November 27, 2025. Circuit Court will operate remotely on Friday, November 28, 2025, and will also be available by phone. The commissioners will attend an executive session on Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025 at 11 a.m. pursuant to ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub I to conduct a performance evaluation. The executive session will be held in the Board of Commissioners Meeting Room 106 in the Tillamook County Courthouse, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook. This executive session is not open to the public. The commissioners will attend a public hearing on Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. regarding a series of legislative text amendments for residential and commercial zones of the Neocani community, including County Land Use Ordinance Middle Housing Code updates. The hearing will be held at the Port of Tillamook Bay Conference Room, 4000 Blimp Boulevard, Tillamook. The teleconference number for this public hearing is 1-971-254-3149, conference ID 887-242-77#. Okay, with that, we will go into executive session under
ORS 192-660 sub 2 sub E to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions.
Excellent. This meeting is recessed at 10:19 a.m.
I think Matt has an update for us. Well, you guys all know John Henry had a trial.
I saw the flag outside.
So he had a trial for 37.
Take a careful look. Soon they will all be
You gonna go into
yours.
the meeting and close this out?
Almost ready?
You have to go in.
Oh, are you ready for us to do that? Yes. Sorry. Okay, we will return from our executive session at 10:35 a.m., reopening our Board of Commissioners meeting, and we will subsequently adjourn our Commissioner meeting at 10:35 a.m.
Everything's here.
I already said that.
You know, so they can, you can never spread enough joy, Aaron. That's right. I don't know what your problem is.
I am not the greatest spreader of joy. I
No!
only